Hello, everybody. Welcome back to The Final Gaze. My name is Harrison, and I am joined here by a friend of mine. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself here?
Yeah, hi. My name's Jeff. How did I lose my last name? Jeff Code. I'll use Jeff Code because that's my radio name.
Alrighty. And how do we know each other? I think we...
I reached out to you because I realized that you probably watch as many movies as I do, or maybe I watch as many movies as you do. I don't know, but we both love movies.
Yeah, and we went to a couple screenings over at the Alamo. I already forget what we watched, but I think...
It was a horror movie.
Oh, really? Damn.
Evil Dead?
Was it Evil? No, it wasn't Evil Dead. It was recent, though. Or was it a special screening of Evil Dead?
It was a special screening or something. It was a classic film.
Gotcha. But even then, I knew then that you'd be great on the show here because...
Well, thank you.
You know, I think we spoke for like an hour outside the theater after watching that movie, and... You know, we're just going to bring that same energy here to
Absolutely.
Today's movie we're going to be covering. Which today we're going to be discussing a little indie gem called Monday. Monday is about a man named Mickey who is introduced to Chloe one hot summer night in Athens, and the attraction between the pair is immediately palpable. So palpable that before they know it, they're waking up naked on the beach on Saturday morning. This stars Sebastian Stan and Denise Goff and is directed by Greek director Argyris Papadimotropoulos. And I had to write that down in segments to say that right.
I was going to say good job on that one because I had no idea.
Yeah.
And I don't think either of us are Greek, so
no, and
it was tough.
And it's great because I kind of went into his little filmography and kind of did a little bit of research on his other films, and it seems that he kind of has the same style through all of his movies. You know, it's very how would you say, simple, low key,
fly on a wall,
very fly on the wall.
Yeah,
and. So it's great that, you know, that style has persevered over a decade. You know, one of them seems very interesting. I think it's an LGBT film.
Oh, really?
Yeah, about a skater, a Greek skater, and a retiring cop. I think it's a dirty cop. But, yeah, I saw a trailer. It looked very intriguing. It's about 90 minutes. It is on YouTube, but it has no subtitles because it's all in Greek.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, so I do want to see more of his other works. Kind of just, I liked Monday, but not to the point of loving it, and we'll get into that. But
okay,
but yeah, okay. Well, let's get right into it. So I think the only reason why I really wanted to watch this was because of Sebastian Stan. And
right.
I can't say I've ever seen him outside of a Marvel movie. What are your thoughts on
Interestingly enough, I mean, he's the Winter Soldier, isn't he?
Yeah.
So, I honestly don't have much experience with Sebastian Stan, but once I found out that he did play the Winter Soldier, I was like, okay, this is a completely different role for him.
Yeah. And I really should have looked at his IMDb because I feel like I knew Sebastian Stan just because of his role in the Marvel films, but I mean, he's certainly done other movies. I haven't seen them, so he's always been Bucky Barnes to me.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, aside from his this is his first movie that I've seen outside of Bucky Barnes. He is a great actor. It seems like it just comes naturally to him.
I do admit. I differ with you on. I did not like the film, but I do have to give credit where credit's due. And the acting, the director got so much out of his actors. I mean, I really felt like I was a fly on the wall watching this relationship deteriorate, and honestly, I felt demoralized to a certain degree. And I was like, oh man! But these performances, just to see them dig into these roles and really reveal their emotional vulnerabilities was tough. I mean, it was tough to watch, but relatable to anyone who's ever been in a tough relationship.
Mm-hmm. And I think at some point for me, it became predictable. Like honestly, when I saw the trailer for this and saw that it was called Monday, I literally thought it was just a weekend, a very magical, once in a lifetime weekend encounter.
That's what I thought too, and maybe it blew my expectations.
Yeah,
and I thought, oh, what did I sign up for here?
Oh my, oh my gosh, this was great because I had this epiphany watching it that the first 20 minutes is that magical movie that I thought it was going to be. The moment where they meet at the party to when Mickey's character runs to the airport. Mm-hmm. That's that feel good romantic comedy, and in some interviews that I watched earlier today. That was intentional because they made reference to movies like when Harry Met Sally and Before Sunset or After Sunset. I've only seen one of those, but
the trilogy, I think.
Yeah, and they spoke of what happens after that magical first meeting, mm-hmm. And I suppose what better medium to look at that possibility at than with this kind of movie, because you couldn't really get away with this in like a big Hollywood movie because this is a very minimalist film.
Oh, very much so.
Very independent. So that's why it's dreary and depressing and realistic and hard hitting.
If you don't mind that kind of thing, mm-hmm. And for me, it was like a roller coaster ride where you're being taken. You start at the top, so you've literally in the beginning of the movie reached the top of the roller coaster, and then as the movie goes on, the drop.
Yeah,
and you really feel it. It's just like these two. They start off on this whirlwind. And I just think it's funny because it really was kind of like a jerk of a friend that introduced them. And I thought I would love this movie because they started off with Donna Summer's "I Feel Love," and I'm grooving, I'm getting into this disco sound, and I'm like, oh wow, that was rude. He just like ripped the DJ out of the booth. He's like, come on, this song's a 10-minute remix, and he's like, you're American, and basically like pushes their heads together, and the DJ's trying to, I guess you could say, kind of be a gentleman and be like, whoa, like, I'm really sorry, my friend's and then she just lays it.
Yeah. And it's pretty interesting thinking back on it now. There's like almost like an antithesis of that moment later on, mm-hmm. where she attempts to do this, or no, where Mickey tries to do the same thing by, putting two Londoners together, and they end up just fucking hating each other.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, so it's okay.
That's true.
So
yeah,
that's a little interesting kind of thematic material, kind of extending from, what I feel is like the Hollywood version of a romance story in a foreign country versus all the crazy shit that happens after that.
Well, I will give it this: indie movies are always very real and emotionally raw. So I think it's fair in the sense I may not have liked it personally, but if you're looking for something that is like a true to life. I feel like a lot of the relationships are like this.
Mm-hmm. You know what I think? You know what other indie film I think does it a bit better, and I think I personally liked a bit more than Monday, is Blue Valentine.
That's funny because it very much echoed that very dark, deteriorating relationship. Yes,
mm-hmm. And I doubt this was shot on film, but it definitely has that feel of it too. Like, mm-hmm. very gritty and real, and nothing's really, how would you say? Nothing's really like accentuated. It's not like it's a hyper reality. It's literally like a camera in on the streets of Athens, in the bars of Athens, And I'm all for that, but again, I think it's not a secret now. We didn't like the film, right? Because I didn't like it.
I didn't.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. In that case, let's go on to our next question. Did you buy these two as a believable couple?
That was the difficulty. Mm-hmm. I found no characters relatable. And when I see a movie, I look at various things. But most of all, I want at least a character I can relate to. So I can kind of see myself in this situation. Like, what would I do? And I'm thinking to myself, man, these two, maybe I never had that love at first sight moment where I'm like, here I am, an American in a foreign country, and here's this other person who's an American in a foreign country. Fuck it, let's just go for it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then, oh man.
I will say that
I was like, really? Really?
I will say that I did relate to Mickey's character, not in any of the romance scenes at all.
Like the nihilistic sort of way?
Well, no. I related to him when he was dealing with his client who was trying to create the jingle.
Oh, absolutely.
And
the guy's like, this isn't it. This isn't it. This isn't it.
Yeah.
And he's ready to like, well, what do you want from me?
Yeah, I have dealt with people like that before, clients who have just sucked the creativity out of things that I love doing for a passion. And, you know, it reminded me of a similar story where I was editing a video for a client, and we went through many renditions of it, and I save all my rough cuts. And, you know, we did like maybe 9 or 10 rough cuts of this project. And then I ended up showing him rough cut number 1, and he said, that's it. That's what I want. And I'm like, I didn't tell him that is what we had 9 cuts ago.
Oh.
But I related to him in that fact where I was sitting in an office setting similar to his, and just going through the motions of people who just don't quite know or understand the passion that goes behind, you know. So that's honestly the only time I ever related to the character.
That makes sense.
All the other times, you know, I get like you. I've never experienced anything like that. So maybe for someone who has and maybe watched the movie, they'll feel a bit more. But for me, I was severely disconnected from the character. And in fact, for me, it was kind of hard to separate Mickey from Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier.
Oh, right.
So it's like, for me, this is Bucky Barnes in Athens if he had a regular army, you know.
Well, speaking of Marvel, is it Oscar Isaac who plays the Mandalorian?
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Wait.
Okay, so any movie...
No. That is... the Oberyn Martell from Game of Thrones. That's who plays the Mandalorian.
Okay.
And I forget his name.
I do.
And it's 'cause I remember his overly complicated name from Game of Thrones, but not his real name. Yeah.
So the guy who plays the Mandalorian, if you do know his name, forgive me.
Pedro Pascal.
Thank you.
There we
go.
Yes.
I relate to that, what you're saying, because everything I see him in, it's like, oh, that's the Mandalorian. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to live down iconic roles when you try and branch out and do more indie stuff.
Yeah. Which is why I feel like my homework now after this movie is watch more Sebastian Stan movies. So
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, again, maybe it was just the demoralizing nature of the film, but I can at least appreciate that these actors gave their all. Mm-hmm. I mean, almost Oscar-worthy performances. Maybe if the intention was we were meant to hate them, I was like, how can... See, originally I was with the woman, because I thought, oh, here's a sensible person. She's a lawyer. She's got her shit together. And this guy, I hate to admit, but, you know, as a DJ, and DJs don't always get the best reputation. He goes, oh, he's just a hedonist. He's living his life for pleasure, and, you know, but, yeah, the reality is, like, they both just kind of spiraled downward.
And, you know, it's funny that we say it kind of both spiraled downward, because I think they kind of went opposite each other, where the woman, I felt like at first, okay, here she is, very sensible minded,
exactly,
until she's not,
exactly.
She goes downhill, and then we got the DJ who's at the bottom, I feel, and then he becomes a bit more responsible, with his son, and, you know,
good point.
Yeah, you know, and you know, at the end, you know, they kind of bring each other up and then down and then up again. So, you know, and
that's a good point.
And I guess that is a good point to bring too, that, you know, who should we side with, you know, and I think that's a perfect segue into
the director does not make it easy. There's no easy answers in this movie. Yeah,
which, you know, the next question is, like, who was really at fault here in the relationship?
Both, absolutely, I think.
See, now, I think
they were toxic for each other.
Oh, absolutely toxic. Anything that is built up that fast can come down just as quick.
That's the thing, absolutely.
Yeah, and
just like their drug-fueled trips.
Right.
Hard up, hard down.
And it's funny because it ends the same way too. They both end up naked in the streets of Athens, and they both get arrested. And
I don't want to give away one of the best scenes, but I'll just say, watch for the motorcycle ride. That was funny.
which based off of all the stuff that I've been reading about, that seems to be the iconic part.
Oh, definitely.
That everyone is always referencing. Everyone's always asking Sebastian Stan, like, how was it riding naked in Athens on a scooter? And he's like, oh, yeah, it was fun. And, but, for me personally, it's just, I feel that, they were definitely both at stake. But I think at the end, a little bit more blame went to the Denise Goff character.
Really?
Yeah, just because, again, just becoming that the reckless person, and how they kind of switched roles from beginning to end, and where she really pushed, she really pushed. She wanted to go do coke.
Yeah.
She insisted they go fucking in, I guess, an underground subway station.
Right.
And then
it was becoming very reckless.
Become get naked and ride down the streets of Athens. And
well, that reminds me of the scene where she was in jail, and they both were in jail, and then he comes out early, but she doesn't. She blames him, and why didn't you get me out? And then who they use, or at least who he used to get out, it was just like, oh man, that's just wow.
Yeah, there is a lot
but she created it.
Yes,
the whole reason they were in jail was because of her.
And see, and that I can definitely see where she's coming from, because why would, at that point, that's where I was like, okay, well, now Sebastian Stan did a shitty thing by not getting her out of jail.
Exactly.
But then I'm also thinking that he had his reasons, because I think he maybe did it on purpose because of his son.
That's a good point.
So it's like, oh, it is their faults, but it's also like, oh, I understand why it's why it's that individual's fault and that individual's fault.
On second thought, I can relate, because if I did have the opportunity to drive nude on a motorcycle
with Bucky Barnes, with the Winter Soldier,
I might just do that.
Well, what if you do? Don't assault a police officer.
Exactly. But knowing that I would probably be arrested and put in jail might change my mind a little bit, depending on how intoxicated I am.
Yeah. Which now brings us to the next question. I think I may have answered this before we even began, but do you think the character, the character who brings them together, Argyris, is the same name as the director, who is, again, let me scroll up to what his name is, Argyris Papadimotropoulos. They share the same name. Do you think that is based off the director?
I sure hope not, because that guy was an asshole. But if the director is that willing to be that vulnerable to, while he didn't reveal to us that was him, but it could have been, there were no redeeming characters about it. I mean, there were certain scenes where he really did care about his buddy, and his buddy reciprocates in the most vulnerable way when he passes out on the bed and takes care of him.
We can say the character shit himself.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So
and then he cleans him up, and I mean, what kind of a friend? You got to be a good friend.
That is a very good friend.
Right. Oh man.
Now I did just finish right before you came in today. I did finish a video interview. It was like a Zoom interview with Sebastian Stan, and he went into a lot. There's no trivia on IMDb for this, so I was like, oh, okay,
really?
That's interesting. Okay, because that's always what I do when I finish a movie. I go right to the IMDb and go look through trivia, so I know a few more things. And
yeah,
but this had no trivia, so I had to do a deep dive through the reviews and find some videos on YouTube. Now, Sebastian Stan confirmed that the character of Argyris is inspired by an incident that happened with the actual real director, Argyris, where he pushed these two Americans together at a party, and they made out, and then the next morning he had to bail them out of jail because they were found naked on a beach. So I thought that was interesting. I thought that was fantastic. And the rest of the movie is Argyris's take on, well, there is a story there. So what is that story? What happens with these two strangers who share an intimate night together?
Right.
And so and Monday, the film Monday, is the answer. So. I thought that was very, very interesting, and I actually wrote that question before I watched the interview because I wanted to know, and now I do, and it's based off of him. Now, how bold! I really hope that, again, I hope he is as vulnerable as, like you said, I'm hoping he's vulnerable enough to show that what kind of person he is, because if I ever shit my pants drunk, I would not make a movie about it. No. So
that's true.
So congrats, Argyris. If that really happens, thank you for being open about it.
Right. Yeah. Right. I'm sure he's not the only one. I'm sure there are many. Okay, I don't mean to but have you ever heard of coke farts?
No, it kind of tells what it is. It
may not have even been alcohol. It may have been the fact that, and I don't know this from firsthand experience, but my friends have told me that when you do coke, it makes you fart.
Interesting.
And sometimes, because it's such an irritant to the stomach, it can actually make you shit yourself. Hilarious. And so maybe that was the scene. Maybe it was the fact that they had done so much coke that he just passed out with the alcohol and shit himself.
I buy that because they're just.
But that's absolutely humiliating.
Yeah, they're definitely doing coke. As I like to say from my favorite show,
the pretty girl's drug, as they say.
As I like to say from my favorite show, Letterkenny, they're definitely hoovering some schneef. So, there's definitely no shame about that.
No.
But, I think out of all the characters, though, I did like Mickey's the most. And just because I liked his laid backness, I think all of us at some point want to have a friend like that who can kind of is the life of the party, can kind of put that kind of that shindig together where they burn the couch and just someone,
I would have hated him for that.
Just someone.
My favorite couch, and you got to set that bitch on fire.
So,
but they made it into a party, and everyone danced around it, and so it was almost like a celebration of the death of the couch.
Mm-hmm. See, and isn't it, as silly as that sounds, it was kind of weirdly symbolic too. Yeah,
True.
So I don't know. I think when I was definitely watching, I was like, I could do with a friend like that. A lot of controlled chaos. I need a little chaos in my life, and a character like Mickey would be the perfect person to push me out into that unknown, the unknown that I'm totally afraid to get into.
Yes.
Yeah.
I could see that because he is very laid back, but there are moments when he's unapologetically chaotic.
And honestly, the worst thing he did was probably just burn the couch. Unless I'm forgetting something, I think the worst thing
other than emotionally.
Yeah, other than emotionally.
I mean, he didn't abuse her.
No abuse. There was he didn't cook the food. He did a terrific alternative, he ordered takeout, which I think was a bit more funny, I think.
Excessively.
But yeah, honestly, I don't know. I didn't hate him. I did not hate him. But I'm wondering if that is just because, I think we're definitely both artists, and I definitely gravitated more towards Mickey with his music career and my filmmaking career and your DJ career. So it's like,
in that sense, yes.
Yeah. So,
I do appreciate a creative person, and they say the most creative people are the most intelligent, the most passionate, and probably the most messy. And sometimes messy can mean physically, it can mean emotionally. He was definitely emotionally a hot mess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that was really hard to kind of sit through. But if I had to choose one and not just say, I disliked all the characters, Mickey would be the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could relate to him at least creatively.
Because I think what he makes up for in the lack of emotions, he definitely brings up more in his outgoing personality.
True.
He's just the life of the party, which is something I can appreciate.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I can say that I hope this isn't like the pervert of me talking, but I did certainly enjoy the erotic parts of the film.
Oh, yes. There was 2 movies worth of sex scenes in this movie.
And it all seemed very natural.
Yeah.
So, it's funny. As we talk about this film, I may not have liked it, but I find myself... Have you ever... You've seen those pop-up videos the VH1 used to show?
Long time ago, yes. Yeah.
It's almost like if we were the pop-up during this movie, it would have made it so much more interesting. Mm-hmm. Now, in hindsight, looking back, appreciating some of the things that you noticed that I didn't almost kind of makes me elevate my rating a little bit.
Yeah. Which, and I think I only focused on those because I feel like, as I do with most movies, even the really, really bad ones, I still try to find the good in them,
Very much. I'm the same way. Silver lining.
Especially if it falls in the category of so bad it's good, which this isn't.
No, it isn't.
It just kind of verges on that, what was the point of this, and oh my god, that's beautiful, So, but no, the sex scenes I felt, especially for Sebastian Stan, who was very open about his, what's that condition called where the individual is actually very, very like beautiful, but they don't see it. It's like there's a specific term for it, but
I'm not sure.
Yeah, but he
99 people could tell you you're hot, and then one person says, and you only focus on the one person?
Yeah, there's a specific term for that, and I forget it, but I know that Sebastian Stan, had some really hard issues with that, even during, his Marvel films. So, the fact that he is actually, kind of bearing all, because there was frontal in this movie, frontal, rear, almost everything.
There was actually, there was a part where he is completely frontally nude, and it's a good 3-4 seconds.
Yeah, and I would probably have to say that this is a movie that is way too low budget to do like a quote unquote digital double, so to speak, like where someone else naked, but they put the face.
You can't have a stunt cock.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that is all Sebastian Stan there, and
he has nothing to be shy about.
No. So, but the fact that he's dealing with his internal issues on how he views himself, and
I never knew that. Wow.
Yeah, is terrific because again, I think he's absolutely stunning.
Well, the thing is, like, nudity puts you or any individual in a very vulnerable state. Mm-hmm. So to be able to expose yourself, whether it's artistic or say pornographic, takes a lot of courage.
Mm-hmm. And just thankfully it was done in this movie because I mean, despite what we
made it look so simplistic,
yeah,
so natural, so easy.
Yeah, and I mean, silly of me to say, but none of it is over the top. It's not like gratuitous in any way. So,
no. I definitely would not say that. Yeah. It seemed very in the moment. Mm-hmm. Like they were very believable as a couple.
Oh yeah.
Wait, no, you asked that question.
Yeah.
Now I have to go back.
I think they're a bit more believable when they're at the height of their relationship.
Yes.
Like basically the beginning.
I hate to admit this, but when they were having sex, it seemed very much like they were a real couple.
Which again,
but when they were fighting, I was like,
yeah.
Again, maybe I couldn't relate, but
yeah, no, I agree with you.
I felt, why would toxic people stay together? But people do it every day.
People do it every day, and it's okay. That's a good point there too. Is that whether it's either story wise or chemistry wise, I think you and I both felt that they were more connected during their more intimate moments and less connected when they were fighting.
I think that's very important to note.
Yeah, just because I think this kind of serves as a warning, as opposed, I guess you could say.
Very much so.
Is, probably don't rush into that long-term relationship with a person you fucked drunk on the beach.
Make a decision. Do you want a short-term relationship or do you want a long-term relationship? And either one is fine.
And this makes me look at all those other movies that the director referenced, with where we get those weekend encounters that end on that Sunday, which is why the movie is named Monday. What happens when Monday comes?
Well, I will say the frustrating thing to me, and maybe you can explain this, but how many Fridays did we go through? That couldn't have been the same weekend.
No, absolutely not. I think at one point they said they were dating for 6 months, and that was maybe around like the halfway period.
Okay,
so.
that was one part I didn't understand.
Yeah.
So we had literally gone through 6 months of Fridays, and I knew where the movie was going.
Yeah.
Obviously,
it can only go downhill.
Anybody who's ever been in the rave scene knows there's a term called Murder Mondays. Oh. And the reason they call it that is because when someone engages in Molly, or ecstasy is the formal term for it, when Monday comes, that's when the suicidal thoughts and the depression sink in, and ravers call it Murder Monday because it is the absolute worst feeling in the world. Wow. So from that aspect, I was like, I know what's coming. Like, Murder Monday is coming, and probably by the end of all these Fridays, they're going to want to murder each other on Monday, which basically was how I felt at the end of the film. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, we've reached this point, and she smiles, and he's just like...
Which now...
And it was murderous emotionally for both of them.
See, now that's fantastic. So now, I didn't know that. Murder Monday, huh? Mm-hmm. Fascinating.
Anyone who's ever been in the rave scene, they've used the term Murder Monday. And it's because of how you feel on Monday when you've been through a festival weekend or a rave. Mm-hmm. It's just coming down off of those hard drugs is just like murderous to your thoughts.
Wow. And, I mean... that opening party, there was definitely some Molly going around.
Oh, there was a lot of everything.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Yeah.
That is wonderful.
So it really applies here to this movie. It really made me think of that.
So do you think, at the end, I feel like the movie was building up to the son returning.
Yes.
Ultimately, though, do you think that this couple... thinking beyond the ending of the movie before it cuts to black. Pretty prematurely, I feel, but, it's pretty dramatic really ending, cuts to black, and then suddenly directed by Argyris.
Right.
What do you think's the future of that couple? Like, what do you think's going to happen to them?
I hate to think that they settle for each other because Denise, I forget her name.
I just been calling her Denise Goff.
Denise Goff,
that's her. That's the actress's name.
So I felt that she... Well, I want to say, like, neither one of them really deserved better. I kind of, at the end of it, felt like, well, they deserve each other. Mm-hmm. But then you bring a child into it, and it's like, anytime children are involved in anything, you always want the best for them. And I'd hate to think, like, a toxic relationship like that would affect the child. It's a sad thought.
Yeah.
But at the end of it, I feel like you were saying, he was going on the upward and she was going on the downward. So you feel like eventually there's going to reach a point where, I mean, we didn't mention this, but she sacrificed a lot to be able to be with him because she was just visiting.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, she was just visiting from America. And I think she was meeting some clients. Mm-hmm. And then there was that scene where you mentioned he was meeting with the clients and that his client wasn't particularly happy with his creative endeavors. And he goes, wait, I think I know what you want. And he goes to this basic jingle. Yeah. That's it. That's exactly it. And you're just thinking there like, really? Okay, if that's what you want.
Yeah.
But for her, she got angry and she's trying to help this guy and she throws open the door and she says, hey guys, can you quiet down? I have a client. And he goes, I'm the client. Uh-huh. And they're like, well, they both were working from home and both had clients at the same time, but theirs was more musical and hers was one-on-one. Mm-hmm. And eventually she just throws the guy out. Yeah. She's like, I'm sorry, I just realized I can't help you.
Yeah, and also, you gotta think about that too, that the only reason why she threw him out was because it was his ex who referred him.
Oh, I never thought about that.
So it's like...
Yeah, you learn later.
She really holds a grudge, But ultimately, True. We didn't see that relationship, but that guy was a total dick,
Oh, you mean her ex?
Yeah, I forget his name, but,
I do too, but in a sense, but he gave her a referral?
Mm-hmm. and got her a job in Chicago.
I kind of side with him. He was a jerk, but he wanted, it seems like he wanted the best version of her, and she was not at a point where she was giving the best to him. And in all fairness, he didn't have to be a jerk, but he's like, man, you deserve each other. Like, go with that guy.
And in the interview that I saw with Sebastian Stan, he made a pretty interesting point that I definitely resonated with, because I've definitely done this with people that I've just met, but projecting the things that they expect from them right on the get-go, So I feel that Mickey's character did that with Denise's character. Denise did that with Mickey's character, where perhaps she was the more high-strung and she needed to be just as laid back as he, and and I feel that they kind of needed each other in that sense. But of course, at the end, we obviously know that it's a terrible idea. They were not made for each other, but they still clinged to those ideals that they first saw in each other at a party drunk. Do
you ever think that, like, sometimes people get together because they say, I see something I like about you, but I want to change this?
Ooh, see, that's exactly the drama of that relationship.
Right, and then the other person comes in and they say, I like this, but I want to change this. You can't change people unless they want to be changed. And then trying to change people that don't want to be changed, you're just going to be a miserable mess.
And that is exactly how I felt about this movie at the end. I'm like, what a miserable mess.
Right, which as a viewer, you're frustrated because you're thinking like, oh man, I really hoped there would be...
Yeah.
And it's not easy viewing. But again, as we think about it and talk about it, there's a lot to appreciate about the art of it. But is it an easy movie to watch? No.
Yeah.
Not a first date movie at all.
Definitely not.
Maybe like a solid marriage date movie.
Yeah. And it's funny because, it is kind of falls in that category of, for me at least, I'm like, why did I want to watch this? Why did I watch this? It made me feel like shit at the end.
Exactly.
Which, art is art, and it can make you feel whatever it needs you to feel.
True.
But, again, I wish... And I find myself saying this a lot, but I think I was misled by the trailers.
I swear, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I've been to a movie and they show all the best scenes in the trailer, and then it's bait and switch.
Which, I wish I had known that it... I'm not going to say this was verging on depression porn, but it was definitely like teetering, like... it's just sad now for being sad. We literally paid money to watch this relationship fail. And I guess I wish I had known going into it that that's what this was. Because like I said earlier, I thought this was that magical weekend encounter where it's like, oh, those beautiful strangers will show me the world.
Started off that way.
Yeah, and then I have to leave on Sunday, but I'll always remember it, kind of a thing.
Right.
But it wasn't. It was a 6-month relationship going straight to hell on a scooter naked. It.
And it did have redeeming qualities, but man, I don't know. That was tough.
Plus, what is it with Greek directors? Because what's that other guy who did that one movie, The Killing of a Sacred Deer and The Lobster? I was like, man, these Greeks, they sure have weird movies,
Yes, very much so.
So, but yeah, that's pretty much, I think, all I have to say about Monday, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get into final thoughts. Jeff, what did you think of Monday?
Well, boy, now you gave me some food for thought, because I know when we were talking, off the podcast, I wasn't sure where you stood. I actually thought you liked it, but I did not. I wasn't ready for this. I guess the best thing you can do in any situation is not go in with any expectations. And just say, I'm going to be as open, especially with indie films. because they're working with the highest level of creativity they have because they don't have the budget that they need. Mm-hmm. So, in fairness to the actors, the writing, the directing... Oh, one thing we didn't talk about, the cinematography.
Oh, yes.
Beautiful. It made me want to go to Athens and visit. I almost was a split here. Because if you're breaking a movie down by directing, writing, acting, cinematography, and all the things that make a movie great, there were things that stood out as great, and then there were things... But again, like you say, when you go into a movie expecting one thing, and then it's bait and switch and you get another, you're meant to feel a certain way. Mm-hmm. And I can't deny that this is not easy viewing. There's no easy answers, and... It will be relatable for people who have been in toxic relationships, which is a lot of us.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But is it easy viewing? Again, no. And it made it very hard for me to sit through. And while I can appreciate the art, my final thought was I couldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Like
I wouldn't want to put someone through that.
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to buy this movie. After talking about it, that's it. I'm glad I watched it. But yeah.
Yeah.
But same sentiments. Aside from how what we can say about the characters themselves, at least it was beautifully shot. Mm-hmm. So again, it was very minimalist, very very very, very grounded and realistic, and the actors give it their all.
Yes.
Sebastian Stan has, and I don't know if he has done this before, but he's definitely proven himself a worthy actor outside of the Marvel films. So
I agree.
I definitely need to watch more of his films outside of just him being the Winter Soldier, because it's he's running on a hot streak right now. We're the finale of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier is this Friday, and
this is true.
So it's like for me, I've always he's always sort of the Winter Soldier in my mind. So it was interesting seeing watching his episode on Friday and then watching Monday on Saturday. That's such a confusing sentence. But
I know, even texting back and forth about this movie, I was like, so we're doing the podcast on Monday? Oh, no, the movie. Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah.
Who's
gotcha.
on first? Yeah. And, but yeah, I could not relate to the characters as much as I wanted to.
Exactly.
And I feel this is kind of a weird thing, too, that I feel if I went into this movie knowing what it was going to turn out to be, I might have enjoyed it a bit more. I would have mentally prepared myself for sadness.
Yes.
But aside from that, beautiful cinematography, terrific acting and directing, but just not relatable for me on a story. And and plus you want to feel for these characters, but at the end I couldn't care less about both of them.
Which is why I would give it a bad review, because there was not a single relatable character. There were relatable things, but when I go into a movie, I want at least one relatable character, so I can see myself in the whole spectrum of what's going on. I really, again, felt like a fly on a wall and was just like in a foreign city, not knowing what the hell's going on here. Oh, I just want to fly away.
And I think other movies have definitely done it better.
Yes, absolutely. We didn't need this.
Yeah, and I wish I could find the reviewer that in their review they said they called it the heterosexual Call Me by Your Name.
Oh,
and
really?
They could not be any more wrong. So whoever said that, I hate you.
Well, I will tell you this. I do like, before I see a movie, and I shouldn't do this. It spoils things sometimes, but I'll always go to Metacritic, and I look at the best review, and I look at the worst review. And then I try and figure out which I relate to more. Am I going to like this movie? Am I going to hate this movie? And why did they feel the way they felt? And I will admit, critics are very mixed on this movie. It's dead in the middle.
Right.
People
in the center,
loved it or hated it.
It's literally around the 50-60%, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, then, that is a perfect segue. So, we're going to be giving our ratings now, and like I said, we use specific moments or items from the movie. So,
I love this.
Out of 5 burning couches, Jeff, what do you give Monday?
After our discussion, I was originally going to say 2 burning couches out of 5, but I will elevate it to 2.5 burning couches out of 5.
Awesome.
I mean, if you could saw a couch in half.
Yes. If you can burn it, it can definitely be sawed in half. For me, I think I took a little bit away of it, took a little bit more away from it in regards to more of the technical aspects, the acting, the directing, the camera work, and all that. So that saved it for me.
Okay.
In which case, I'm going to give it 3 burning couches out of 5. And, we seem to be unwittingly following in the steps of all the other critics because I think we were split right in the middle. We like things, we hated things, but, that's sometimes just how movies are. So,
yep.
Yeah.
That's how the popcorn falls.
I love that. Because then, I was an usher at a theater, and
really?
we were always the one to clean it up. So.
Oh, that's the worst part. Why popcorn? Why not deviled eggs?
Oh, please no, because there'll be deviled eggs on the floor. So instead of popcorn, now it's deviled eggs. All right, well, that's our review for Monday. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We are on all the social medias at The Final Gaze. You can also listen to us on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Pandora. We're also going to be making a comeback to YouTube. I figure we'll bring these on YouTube, just for those who have a preference for listening on video podcasts. I guess that's a thing.
That's me.
But next week I will be joined with a old film school buddy of mine named Jesus Dominguez, where we'll be discussing the long-awaited Mortal Kombat. So Jeff, did you want to give our listeners any kind of social media kind of things you want to follow? Because I know you're a DJ and you do your own things there. So
I do. I'm a nightclub DJ, and I also am on the radio. I have an afternoon show. If you want to listen to the afternoon show, it's 88.7 The Pulse, right here in Phoenix and Maricopa County. You can also listen online anywhere around the world. PulseRadio.fm. It's 3 to 5 p.m. Arizona time, which, since we don't do daylight savings, gets really confusing. Mm-hmm. But I believe it's Mountain Standard Time.
Yeah, there was already an incident where we thought we were an hour ahead, and they weren't. So, yeah, for sure in California we are on the same time, I believe.
Okay, so 3 to 5 Monday through Thursday if you want to check me out on the radio. If you prefer to interact with me on social media, Jeff Code on Facebook.
Okay, can you spell it out real quick?
It's Jeff and Kode.
Jeff Code.
Yep.
All right. Until then, my name is Harrison.
And I'm Jeff Code.
And we are the Final Gaze.